very, very difficult to play mental games against the Ukrainian fighter because they've seen firsthand the horrors of war.
Charlotte Daly of MailSport Boxing. I'm joined by Bob Arum. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good, I'm glad. Well, we want to talk a little bit about your relationship with Tyson Fury. Now, I heard you say before that it wasn't boxing you fell in love with, it was Muhammad Ali. Is that what drew you to work with Tyson Fury because of the fact he is the same sort of character?
Well, you have to understand, Fury is a very intelligent guy. And when we first signed him, which was after the first fight with Wilder, he asked, at your age, he didn't realize I'd get much older, at your age, why are you bothering promoting me? And I said, well, every story has to have a beginning and an end. My beginning was Muhammad Ali, and my end will be another great heavyweight, Tyson Fury. Well, now it's many years later, 7 or 8 years later, and I'm still doing it. So anything that comes after this will be a sequel. Right?
With Muhammad Ali, I know Tyson told us that when he was a child, he used to go down to the car boot sale and buy tapes of Muhammad Ali to watch him. Given you knew Muhammad Ali personally, did Tyson ever ask you about him or tell you how he had influenced his career?
Not really. I think Tyson was more interested philosophically in Mike Tyson because he was named after Mike Tyson. Tyson Fury will be remembered as his great character and somebody who brought levity and excitement to the sport, but not as a great historical figure.
Yeah.
That's a different. Of all the fighters that I've promoted over now 60, 70 years, only Ali has had a real impact on the society around us.
Mm-hmm. In terms of Tyson Fury, we see what he's like when the cameras come on and the lights come on. He's this character with all the personality, but what is he like when the cameras come off? What is he like behind closed doors with you?
He's the same, but in a much more modulated voice. When the cameras are on, he projects and he speaks because he knows the cameras are on. If the cameras are off, he says a lot of the same things, but a much quieter voice.
For the rematch against Oleksandr Usyk, what do you think Tyson needs to change to get the victory?
He has to change something, and he will change something, just the way he was able to adjust and change going from the Wilder first fight to the Wilder second fight. With Wilder, he put on more weight, and he decided that even though Wilder was this tremendous puncher, he'd go right after him and lean on him and try to destroy him physically, and he was able to do that. I think he might try the same thing as far as doing that type of fight with Usyk, because he's much bigger, and he's got to be a lot more physical with Usyk than he was in the first fight.
With Tyson, one of his tactics is always that mental warfare. He did it exceptionally against Vladimir Klitschko, but he hasn't been able to do it with Oleksandr Usyk. Why do you think he's not been able to get into his head?
Well, because Usyk is Ukrainian. I know so is Klitschko. But Usyk's been through the war and what's happening in Ukraine. Very, very difficult to play mental games against the Ukrainian fighter because they've seen firsthand the horrors of war. So everything that takes place in a sport, even a tough sport like boxing, doesn't intimidate them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Usyk is he's a great guy, really nice guy, very intelligent, but tough as nails.
We saw after the Wilder rematch that when Fury won, you guys had a bit of karaoke in the ring together. If there's a victory on Saturday night, could we see you back on the mic with Tyson?
Well, I don't know. I was younger then, you know. I, yeah, but I won't mind. I wouldn't mind. I don't know if it's appropriate here in the kingdom, but that was a lot of fun.
With Tyson Fury now, there's a lot of talk about what will happen next after Saturday, whether it will be a trilogy with Oleksandr Usyk or a potential fight with Anthony Joshua. What does the road ahead look like for each circumstance? Which way do you think things will go?
Well, if Tyson Fury wins this second fight, there'll be a demand for a trilogy, but that demand really can only be met by the resources of the kingdom because they've gotten paid so much money in the first two fights. If it doesn't go to a trilogy, the fight that everybody in the UK wants to see is Fury against AJ. I mean, no matter how many fights they win or lose, people would pack Wembley to see those two fight each other.
Now, you've put on some incredible fights over the years, and I know getting the likes of Pacquiao versus Mayweather over the line was a tough feat. Now, what would you say is harder, the negotiations between Fury and AJ for the last 5 years, or those negotiations between Pacquiao and Mayweather?
Well, I don't think there have been negotiations with Fury and AJ because there was always another fight that each of them were going to take. And, you know, if there's another fight, you can lose the other fight, and that sidetracks what you're doing. So, but the negotiations with Pacquiao and Mayweather weren't that. They were just, nonsense guys playing because they were making so much money, each of them, fighting other people.
Well, that's obviously fights we want, the trilogy, the AJ fight, definitely. People question how long Tyson will continue to be in the sport of boxing. Now, he said to us, and he's spoken about it in his book before, that he struggles with the idea of walking away from boxing, and his dad and his cousin once took him for a day out and it broke his routine of being in the gym, and that set him back mentally. Do you think he'll ever get to a point where he's happy to walk away from the sport?
I don't think any athlete is happy to walk away from his sport. They all do, a lot of them because they know they don't have the ability as they had before, because the one opponent you can never beat is Father Time. Father Time will always beat you. So, the athlete realizes that he can't perform anywhere near the level that he performed before, and so he walks away. None of them is happy walking away. Not Ali, not Marvin Hagler, not Sugar Ray Leonard, not George Foreman. None of them are happy leaving the sport of boxing, because that's when the spotlight is on them, and that reflects their importance as a person, as somebody that people are looking at when they're performing in their sports. It's tough, because was it Hausman line, not to an athlete dying young? Because athletes die young, maybe not physically die, but they die because they can't perform anymore to the level that they once performed.
Yeah. Walking away from the sport is almost like losing a sense of self, a bit of your identity,
Right,
I guess.
right.
Now, I have to ask, when you were back in the day, having your promoter rivalries with Don King and everything like that, did you ever imagine all of the promoters working together in symmetry like they are now?
Yeah, pretty much so. Even King and myself, when it came to making big fights, like the first Leonard Duran fight, like De La Hoya Trinidad, we always found a way to do it. You know, there's one thing that's most important to promoters, and that drives them to work together, and that's one word, and that's money.
Yeah. Well, as you said, big fights that you put on over the years. How does the Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk and now the rematch match up to those? Where does it sit in your list of fights that you've been involved in?
Well, it's different. I mean, most of the fights that I remember as being really big fights took place in the United States. And now, particularly in the heavyweight division, the big fights took place in the UK and now in the kingdom here in Saudi Arabia. So the excitement is different. It's different because, at least for me, because as an American, I can relate more to excitement that takes place in my own country
Yeah.
because I'm so familiar with it. But it's wherever these fights take place, it's still very exciting. And in the UK, they can fill a Wembley Stadium, which is amazing. Here, the money that's paid for these fights is enormous. So it is what it is. And the people on Saturday will get to see a fantastic event with Fury and Usyk, and a fight that's going to be, in my opinion, completely different from
Yeah.
the fight that they had the first time.
Yeah, we're lucky to be getting them. Well, finally, we saw Top Rank published a graphic earlier this year of all the different places you had been to in 2024. It's unbelievable looking at all the journeys you've done. What motivates you to keep going, and do you have any plans of slowing down anytime soon?
Well, yeah, you keep going because it better than the alternative. At my age, the alternative is to sit outside and read a newspaper or a magazine and smoke a cigar, which is fun. But it's more fun to travel
Traveling the world.
around the world, different countries. I was supposed to go from here to Japan for Inouye's fight, but that was postponed. Uh, but again, uh, the people, particularly boxing fans, in all these countries are so different from each other that it's really enjoyable to have that experience. And I count my blessings all time that I'm able to do that. So I don't look at it as a chore. I mean, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it.